What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. Hope you guys are continuing to do well on this Victory Monday, and it's about time we check in on Pro Football Focus and see what they think about the Seattle Seahawks this week. So, you guys know the drill by now. This first video is going to be about the offensive grades. We're going to take a look at how they graded out the offense. Going to take a look at some of their other numbers as well beyond their grades. And then in a later video, a couple of hours down the line, we're going to do the defensive side of the ball. So by the end of the video, we'll have a pretty good idea of where PFF stands on the team in their most recent performance. This video is being powered by BetUS. More on them in a couple of minutes. But overall this week, I think things are pretty in line with expectations. There are some outliers here. Again, this is not going to be a video where we assume that PFF got everything right, nor is it a video where we dismiss everything PFF has to say. So let's go ahead and jump right in here, starting with the Seahawks offense, just straight up offensive grades. Who came out the best? This is very interesting, right? Because last week against the Patriots, our tight ends were the worst graded position by far. All three tight ends had terrible grades. This week we have three tight ends in the top five. AJ Barner's number one by a lot, almost a 90. Noah Fant is second with an 83.7. And Brady Russell. Now, Brady Russell played 3 snaps. It doesn't really matter, but 73.6 is still good. So that's certainly interesting, right? And AJ Barner, who did make a couple nice catches in that game, this is notable here because we know Noah Fant's not a great blocker. He's average at best. He's passable at best. So that AJ Barner can play 18 snaps and get graded out this highly, not just for what he does as a pass receiver, but also as a pass blocker and a run blocker. And run blocking is most of what he did. He had 11 run blocking snaps in that game. That's almost 2/3 of his snaps. That's something that hopefully we can lean on going forward because, granted, it is a little bit of a tell when he's in the game that he might be running the ball, but it doesn't have to be a complete tell like it is with Chenault. So this is certainly worth monitoring going forward because AJ Barner had some rough moments in his first couple of games, but this game was clean, and there's something going on here that we as Seahawks fans should definitely like, appreciate, and pay attention to. Another guy in the top five was another guy with a very small sample size, Kenny McIntosh, 10 snaps, 78.3, mostly fueled by what he did as a pass protector. Interesting, although it's 1 snap. But on running plays, he was also graded out positively. So I don't know what it's going to take. Granted, Charbonnet was graded out very well too, 74.5 on a much bigger sample size, mostly because of what he did running the ball. So I don't want to go too far with it here, but it does seem to me that McIntosh has earned a few more carries than what he's gotten. It is worth noting that Charbonnet got dinged on his pass protection, although I think that PFF is being a little bit, they're being a little bit too harsh on the pass protecting grades for a halfback, but that's certainly subjective and debatable. So that's your top five. Those are your top 5 best players on the offense according to PFF, although I throw Brady Russell out because he only played 3 snaps. Before we go any further, though, I want to talk to you about my friends over at BetUS, the best online sportsbook and casino out there. You can head over there right now and throw down a wager on the upcoming Seahawks-Lions Monday Night Football game. Big game next week on Monday night. You can currently get the Seahawks 4.5, plus 4.5 points. Do you think they can cover the 4.5 points? Do you think they can keep that game a 1-score game? Do you think they can keep it tight until the very end? If you do, head on over there, throw it down. Maybe you're feeling really brave and you want to take the money line plus 175. That's pretty good. If you're feeling like the Seahawks can roll into Detroit and come out a 4-0 team, not a bad wager. Right now, BetUS is offering up some serious free money. Use promo code YouTube150 and you can get a 150% deposit bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000. And then you can also get 125% deposit bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. So head on over to BetUS, make an account, or log into your current account, throw down some wagers. Always gamble responsibly. Okay, so back to the PFF grades here. Geno Smith comes in next, graded out well. I continue to say this because I continue to believe that it's true. What Geno Smith is doing with such bad pass protection this year is special. Like, there are very few quarterbacks in the league who could do what Geno Smith is doing right now with this pass protection. And this game, I would argue it was worse than ever. Worse than ever. Even the stalwart, even the guy that you've come to depend on at left tackle, Charles Cross, who we'll get to in a second here, he didn't play a completely clean game. He played a good game. I'm not saying that he played a bad game just because he made some mistakes, but we finally saw some of those mistakes. But 73.2 for Cross. So despite allowing some stuff and picking up the penalty, he did have an overall good game, mostly because of his run blocking, which is, again, not in line with expectations for him, given the player that he was coming out of college. But it's certainly great news. Forsyth. Can we give a shout out to Stone Forsyth here for playing a really clean game at right tackle? Life's not easy for him out there, man. And he played really well. Look at how well he was graded. And it's not just the grade, right? I watched that game. I thought he played pretty well. Like, how about some credit to a third-string tackle who may have been our best offensive lineman in this game? I felt like he was watching the game, for whatever that's worth. All right, so then you got Metcalf. Good grade here. The run blocking is really starting to kill him. By the way, that's one thing that we got to figure out, man. These wide receivers, they're not blocking well. We're not getting good reps out of the receivers run blocking or blocking for bubble screens. Something's got to give. It's not going well. The penalty, obviously, Ramsey kind of sold it, but I do think that Metcalf pushed off, so we got that to work on here. But if he's going to bust 71-yard touchdowns that basically put a game away in the first quarter, then there's not really much else to say. Lockett, pretty decent game as well. And then at that point, you start getting down into the guys who were just graded out kind of in a mediocre at best, on a mediocre at best level, like Laken Tomlinson, whose run blocking did save him. And we will talk about the run blocking stuff a little bit later, but my goodness, man. The pass protection's a disaster. Pass protection's a disaster from guards. These are not tackles, by the way. It'd be one thing if they were playing tackle and they were getting roasted every play by, like, the Bosas of the world. But you're playing on the interior. Life should not be this hard. And Tomlinson's a left guard, but I know somebody who isn't a left guard who's getting roasted even worse. So, Tomlinson, I mean, the grade is passable because of the run blocking, but you're going to get Geno Smith killed like this. Tariq Young, whatever, JSN, mediocre grade. Mostly, again, because of the run blocking. Like, as a receiver, he was okay, but can't block. Connor Williams, I will say this, the pass protection grade looks pretty good, which I don't know if I agree with. It was the run blocking. But again, I'm going to continue to stress this. Connor Williams needs time. We have to be very patient with Connor Williams to come around here. I know it's been a little bit brutal so far, but he's going to get better. Chenault, whatever. Bobo, little bit below average. The two guys on offense who really stunk grade-wise were Bradford, which we all know about, and then Pharaoh Brown, who mostly stunk on the strength of his pass protection, which that doesn't need to be happening because blocking is what he does. And run blocking was not good either, and that's his greatest strength as a player. So overall, there's some really good stuff here, but the bad stuff is very, very obvious. And for a guy like Bradford, whose supposed strength is his run blocking, and that's the thing keeping him on the field, like, oh boy. Like this isn't good either. Oh, my head's blocking it. It's a 50.1. 50.1, man. All right, let's go to the passing chart here real quick. You guys know I like to look at this every week for Geno Smith to get an idea of where the offense is attacking. And this week, it could not be more clear what the plan was. Short middle. 14 of Geno Smith's attempts went to the short middle of the field. 14. For comparison, we got, if you go from the outside left down, you got 0, 1, 3, 0. On the outside right, you've got 1, 2, 4, 3. So he threw to the short middle more than he threw to the, I believe, well, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. He threw to the short middle as many times as he threw to the outside anywhere the whole game. And that's what you do when your offensive line is playing that poorly. You adjust, and he did really well. 13 of 14 for 144 yards. He had the interception. I think this was the tip interception, which was obviously a historic fluke, right? One of the flukiest interceptions you're ever going to see. And there's not much else that need to be said, right? Like the one time that he went deep twice in this game, and both times he connected with Metcalf, had almost 100 yards on those 2 attempts alone. And other than that, there's not really anything else to say, right? 3 for 4 on the outside right short, 15 yards. 2 for 3 for 12 yards outside left short, but he worked the middle of the field. And if you are a Seahawks fan that's wanted to see things like that for a while now, you should be really excited because Geno gets it and Grubb gets it. All right. Rushing direction. You guys know I like to look at this as well to get an idea of what is working with this offense in terms of where they're running the ball. And it's kind of interesting, right? Even though Bradford was graded out pretty poorly as a run blocker, our biggest success in this game was running the ball off right guard in the gap between right guard and right tackle. 5 carries, 38 yards, which was 7.5 yards a carry. So that's actually really strong. But we also saw good results running behind cross on the left side. 5.7 yards per carry off left tackle. Also saw some success off left end. 4.5 yards a carry. The main issues would be, oddly enough, when you're trying to run up the middle. There's also some issues when you're trying to run off the right side. That might be a Pharaoh Brown thing more than anything because you're running towards the right side of the field behind the tight end a lot. You're very dependent on the tight end blocking. So this would kind of contradict the rushing run blocking grade that PFF gave Tomlinson and Bradford, right? Nominally. Of course, PFF tries to go a little bit deeper than that, but I do find it to be interesting that our greatest success running the ball was still going into the gap between Bradford and Forsyth, with also a good amount of success running on the left side behind cross. So, some things to learn here. Overall, the team ran the ball pretty well. Remember, this is deducting a couple of notches off of the yards per attempt because of the QB kneel downs that really should be edited out of rushing stats, by the way. Like, I don't know if anybody else is with me on this one, but seriously, when you're doing rushing stats, QB kneel downs should not count. Maybe they should count in the stat book, but they should not count for something like this where you're trying to figure out what things mean. Like just get rid of that because it doesn't mean anything. You're going to lose a yard, and it's cool. Okay, pass protection. We had to look at this one because you know how bad it's going to be. 3 sacks in this game, and 2 of them were allowed by Anthony Bradford. He also allowed 4 pressures. So we're talking about 6 total pressures. Guys, he's playing right guard. Right guard, you're going up against nose tackles. You're going up against 1 techs. You're going up against 0 techs. Shouldn't be that hard to keep your quarterback clean, and he cannot do it. So, I'm sorry. People are going to say, well, obviously Haynes looks worse in practice. You can't be worse than this in practice. You can't be worse than this. Maybe Bradford's better in practice, but he's not doing anything good in a game. And I'm a patient guy. I understand the value of being patient with offensive linemen, especially. But we don't have time to mess around like this when we got a quarterback who's going to get hurt. And the season's over if our quarterback gets hurt. Because there's no way Sam Howell or any other quarterback we can get is going to be able to do much of anything behind this offensive line right now. Like, they're not even going to have a chance. So that's the thing that stands out right now. Bradford playing right guard can't get anything right. 2 more penalties, 2 sacks allowed, 4 pressures allowed. Run blocking, he didn't grade out well. If you look at the objective results, maybe he didn't do so terribly poorly, but this is still not good. And Lake and Tomlinson, not much better. 2 hits, 3 hurries allowed, so 5 as a left guard. I mean, you got to replace somebody, right? And I don't know which one, but you got to do one of them. Charbonnet allowed a hurry in this game. I'm going to have to go try to find it. I'm going to have to see because they gave him a hurry against the Patriots game that I really didn't think was fair. Pharaoh Brown allowed a QB hit. So given that he only got a couple of reps at it, that's discouraging. I'm going to have to try to find that as well. And, yeah, Cross had his first not-so-great game of the year pass protecting. It still wasn't terrible overall. And other than that, man, I mean, Connor Williams allows 1 hurry, so that's actually better than I thought. I thought watching that game he allowed a little more than that. Forsyth allows 1 hurry, so he kept things clean. A.J. Barner, clean. Kenny McIntosh, clean. They only got 1 snap each, though, so what are we going to read into that, really? And, yeah, that's it for the PFF offensive side of the ball. We're going to get to the defense a little bit later today. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. And again, I want to give a standing ovation to Stone Forsyth because I thought he played well watching the game, and PFF agrees. Once again, thank you to BetUS for for sponsoring this video. Remember, always gamble responsibly.